Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. I'm the Lazy Chair Bear, and today I'll be reviewing this game is in early access, meaning that the game's incomplete and it's still being developed. Will I hold back my criticism because of this? No. But I will give it another review when it fully releases. With that said, the Moonlighter 2 is a vendor roguelike game, similar to games like Dave the Diver or Rogue Legacy kind of. In these kind of games, the main gameplay loop is to go out on an expedition, collect some valuable loot, and then go back to the town to resell everything in your shop. Slowly, through repeating this process, you'll expand your powers and expand your shop. When I saw the Moonlighter 2, I was kinda apprehensive of whether or not I should try it out, but I decided to give it a chance anyways. You play as the merchant, the greatest shopkeeper of Roanoke. When you start playing, you find out that your original settlement, Roanoke, was taken over by the interdimensional collector, and you and your town were kicked out of your dimension. You're forced to find refuge in another realm. A few months later, you're being kicked out again by the new landlady, Mrs. Scratch. She lent you her shop, knowing that you were a great merchant, but after 3 months of no money being made, she kicked you out to the desert, telling you to not come back until you find some relics to sell. This game looks fine. It has that plastic doll-like style that I'm not really a big fan of, but the movement and combat animations look clear and precise. The dodge roll is exactly what you would expect. A roll with some invincibility frames. It also lets you roll through enemies, which is nice when you're in a pinch. The enemies come in a few varieties. Slimes, sword wielders, bomb throwers, shooters, and rollers. And these are all the enemy types you'll see in the first dimension. Even the mini-boss halfway through is just a normal type enemy with like 10 times the health. The mini-bosses look exactly like normal enemies. Well, not exactly. They have a red aura around them, kind of like elite enemies, and they hit harder and have more HP. The mini-bosses have the same attack patterns as the normal ones. After you get past the mini-boss, you'll start encountering more and more elite enemies. The bosses, on the other hand, are pretty unique. The first boss has a force field protecting it, and it shoots bombs at you and has a giant laser. And for the most part, the attacks are pretty well telegraphed, so you know what to do next. Overall, it's okay. It's a 3 out of 5 stars in graphical style. The main gameplay loop of this game is your standard roguelike gameplay loop. You run around a randomly generated room, killing monsters, and then go to the next room and do it again. There was one secret area in the blacksmith room where you go through a portal and you end up in another room with a bunch of traps. And it also had a little story about the sand region and its people there, which was a nice surprise. You start off with a mop after the landlady kicks you out in the sand region. As you gain more money, you can also buy more weapons from the blacksmith. There are 4 main weapon types: a sword, a spear, a greatsword, and gauntlets. The sword is average across the board. It's decently fast and hits decently hard. The spear has the longest range. The gauntlets have the shortest range, but it's the fastest. And then finally, we get to the greatsword. The greatsword has the second longest range, hits the hardest out of all the weapons, and is still decently fast. I honestly think that this is the best weapon type out of all of them. The battles in the Moonlighter 2 are really easy in the early stages, but after you beat the mini-boss halfway through the realm, the enemies become more numerous and hit harder. The boss at the end of each realm are also incredibly tanky. The first boss has a force field around it that requires a bomb to damage it. The boss only drops a bomb after a full cycle of attacks, and the cycle takes around a minute of waiting and dodging. After you hit the force field 3 times with the bombs, the shield goes out for like 10 to 20 seconds, where the boss is hittable. Since the boss is so tanky, it takes around 3 shield breaks to get it down to 60%. And then it goes into the next phase. It destroys one of your barriers, and the bomb cycle starts all over again. But this time, the attacks last longer. This happens again once the boss reaches 30% HP. These long cycles cause the boss fight to last around 20 minutes of waiting and dodging. By the end of it, I was extremely annoyed. It just took too long to beat. Other than fighting, you'll also have to manage a shop. In this section of the game, you'll sell the items you've acquired in all your explorations. In the beginning, you won't really know the prices of the items you're selling, but you'll get a hint about how much they're worth based on the expressions the customers make. If they make a smiley face with the gold coins in their eyes, it means that you sold your item way under market price. If they make an angry face, then that means that the item is way above market price, so they won't buy it. If you sell enough items at market price, then you'll receive a perk for just that day. The perks usually increase the value of items you're selling. Some of them might greatly increase the value of a specific item, or others could increase the value of all items by a little bit. It all depends on the perk you roll. After you finish upselling your items, you can head out to the blacksmith and buy new weapons. Or you could go to the alchemist to increase your health or potion slots. After you buy what you want, you head back to the portal and do it all over again. It's not a bad gameplay loop, but with the lack of mini-boss variety and the annoyingly tanky bosses, I'll give the gameplay a 3 out of 5 stars. The story of the Moonlighter 2 is that you were kicked out of your realm by the interdimensional collector. In your new realm, the Endless Vault appears, giving you challenges to overcome to get some of its treasures, and when you finally complete all the Endless Vault's challenges, you'll be granted one wish. With that one wish, you'll be able to get your original realm back. Honestly, that took me a few seconds to sum it up, but in the game, they take 2 hours to get to the point. Most people only give the game 2 hours to decide whether or not they'll continue to play the game or not. So by this point, I was getting pretty bored. And that's the worst thing you can do in a game. Be boring. Because of this, I'll give the story of the Moonlighter a 2 out of 5 stars. The Moonlighter 2 is a roguelite. It's in the same genre of games like Hades or The Binding of Isaac. The strongest aspect of these games is the replayability. You can dump hundreds of hours into them. So because of that, a 5 out of 5 stars in replayability. And now onto the value. I wasn't sure where to throw glitches into. It was between this and gameplay. But ultimately, glitches are defects in the product, meaning that it should affect its value. Glitches can be fixed through patches, but bad gameplay loops cannot be patched out. When I booted up the game, I tried to change the inventory hotkeys to tab, and it froze the game. Literally 1 minute into the game, and it had already broke. I tried it again a second time, and it broke again. Other than not being able to change the hotkeys, I didn't run into any other major glitches. The Moonlighter 2 costs $29.99 USD. It's on the pricier side compared to other roguelite games. For example, Dave the Diver costs 20 USD, and Rogue Legacy costs 15. Compared to those two games, which are similar to the Moonlighter, this game is a bit overpriced. The Moonlighter 2 has no microtransactions, so that's always nice to see, and it also has around 35 hours of playtime. A 2.5 stars in value. Alright, it's time to do the final calculations. 3 stars in graphical style, 3 stars in gameplay, 2 stars in story, 5 in replayability, and 2.5 in value. And the final score is... Honestly, I didn't really have high hopes for this game. I played the first Moonlighter game, and while I really enjoyed the gameplay loop, it just crashed on me like 7 times as I played. And that was 2 years after it was fully released. I was hoping this game would refine the gameplay loop, add some more weapons, maybe add some armors, and make the game longer. While they did make the game longer, the gameplay loop was the same as the first game. Having already done all the grinding in the first game, it made me feel really bored playing this game. After the first 2 hours in the game, I really didn't want to keep playing the game anymore, but I continued anyways. This game's a pretty middle-of-the-road kind of game. I can't, in good conscience, recommend this game to anyone. You're better off playing Dave the Diver. If you really want to try this game, then I suggest you wait until it's fully released. When it does fully release, I'll check it out again, but until then, steer clear. And that's my review of the Moonlighter 2 Early Access. Like and subscribe to get more insight on the newest indie games. Leave your comments down below. And as always, thanks for watching. And now, it's time for me to sit back, relax, eat some honey, and pass out.